a photo shoot for Country Life magazine at Rainham Hall in Norfolk, England by Captain Prue Van and Andre Shearer. The photographer saw her coming down the stairs and began yelling to Shearer, who could not see anything, and thought he was delusional. She is known as the Brown Lady, due to reports of the spirit being seen wearing a brown brocade dress. This image emerged, a young woman dressed in white sitting on a tombstone. She was not visible to anyone who was present, and in fact, the image appeared in a much larger, almost panoramic view of the cemetery. The portion of the photo where the woman appears was enlarged when investigators noticed there was something out of the ordinary about it. The photograph appeared in both the Chicago Sun-Times and the National Examiner. This photograph was taken inside the Sefton Church in September 1999 in Merseyside, England. There was only one other photographer in the church beside the person who took this picture. Neither of them recalled seeing the ghost or any flesh and blood person standing there. Who could account for this image? This picture was taken by Ralph Hardy in 1966, a Canadian tourist who intended to photograph the Tulip staircase in the Queen's House section of the National Maritime Museum in Greenock, England. Upon development, however, the photo revealed the ghostly figure climbing the stairs, holding the railing with both hands. Many experts, including some from Kodak, could not find any evidence of tampering. Other figures have been seen on occasion in the vicinity of the staircase, and unexplained footsteps have also been heard. In 1959, Mrs. Mabel Cheery was visiting the grave of her mother in a British churchyard, and took a photo of her husband, who was waiting alone in the car. When the film was developed, Mrs. Cheery recognized the image of her mother in the backseat, the woman whose grave they had visited on that day. Photo expert examined it for a British newspaper, and declared the photo to be authentic. Terry I. Clanton took this photo of his friend at Boot Hill Graveyard, who wanted Old West-looking pictures of himself dressed in Clanton's 1880 period clothes. Among the gravestones, just to the right of his friend, is the image of what appears to be a thin man in a dark hat. On November 19, 1995, Wem Town Hall in Shropshire, England, an old building built in 1905, was destroyed by fire. Tony O'Hilly, a local resident, took photos of the spectacle from across the street. One of those photos shows a small, partially transparent girl standing in the doorway. Neither O'Hilly nor any of the other onlookers or firefighters recalled seeing the girl there. Dr. Vernon Harrison, a photographic expert and former president of the Royal Photographic Society, examined both the print and the original negative, and concluded that it was genuine. Sybil Corbett took this photograph of the Combermere Abbey Library in 1891. The figure of a mannequin detected in the chair to the left. It is believed to be the ghost of Lord Combermere, a British cavalry commander in the early 1800s. Lord Combermere died in 1891, having been struck and killed by a horse-drawn carriage. At the time Sybil Corbett took the above photo, Combermere's funeral was taking place. This photo shows a tall, hooded figure floating on the steps of the altar at Newby Church in North Yorkshire, England. The photo was taken in 1963 by the Reverend K.F. Lord, who was photographing the front of the sanctuary. He reported that he saw no such figure at the time of his visit. It appears to be about 3 meters tall. This photo does look like an obvious staging, but it has been studied by photo experts, who say the image is not the result of a double exposure. This image was caught on infrared film during a paranormal investigation at a Toys R Us in Sunnyvale, California, for the television series That's Incredible. The man seen leaning on the wall was not observed by the others present. High-speed film shots taken at the same time as this one showed no trace of the leaning figure. This Toys R Us has a long history of being hunted by a ghost called John, and store workers are used to see strange things happening, such as objects moving on their own. This picture is a group portrait of Sir Victor Goddard's squadron. In the back of Goddard, positioned on the top row, fourth from the left, can be seen the face of another man, shown in the zoom circle. It could be the face of Freddie Jackson, an air mechanic who had been accidentally killed by an airplane propeller 2 days earlier. This photograph was taken the day of his funeral, and members of the squadron easily recognized his face. This ghostly figure, that appears to be praying, was not seen by the photographer Gordon Carroll when the shot was taken. The photo was snapped at the Church of St. Mary the Virgin in Northampton, England. In 1982, photographer Chris Brackley took a photograph of St. Botolph's Church in London. You can see the transparent form of what looks like a woman in the upper right-hand corner of his photograph. According to Brackley, to his knowledge there were only 3 people in the church at the time the photo was taken, and none of them were in that loft. In 1924, James Courtney and Michael Meehan, crew members of the SS Watertown, were killed by gas fumes. The sailors were buried at sea off the Mexican coast. For several days thereafter, the ghostly faces of the sailors were clearly seen by other members of the crew in the water following the ship, which caused an uproar. When the faces again appeared in the water, the ship's captain, Keith Tracy, took 6 photos. Then locked the camera and film in the ship's safe. When the film was processed by a commercial developer in New York, 5 of the exposures showed nothing but sea foam. But the 6th showed the ghostly faces of the dead seamen. The negative was checked by the Burns Detective Agency and revealed no tampering.